How's it going, guys? I'm Mike Dwyer from the Bunker Recordings and BetterMixes.com, and today I want to take a look at EchoBoy from Soundtoys. But more specifically, I want to show you some cool, kind of weird uses for it that you might not have thought of before. So I'm guessing the majority of you are at least a little bit familiar with EchoBoy. It's one of the best, one of the most versatile, and one of the most well-known delay plugins out there. It's been around for like a billion years or something, and it's a great delay. But that's not what I want to talk about today, because you can do a lot of really cool stuff with this plugin besides just delays. So I figured I'd share some of my favorite uses with you. A lot of these came about from a session I was doing a couple years back. I was working with a buddy of mine in his home studio, and he didn't have a ton of plugins, but he did have EchoBoy. So we were getting a lot of use out of this one, since he didn't have all the stuff that I might normally use for these kinds of things. But anyway, let's take a look at our first use here. And that's going to be for cool lo-fi vocal effects. So I'll bypass EchoBoy for a second. And if we listen to this part of the song. So we have this sort of call and response vocals going on. And I wanted to do something interesting with the response. I didn't want it to just be a normal clean vocal. So let's solo that up and see what we can do with EchoBoy. So first off, I'm going to just turn the time to 0, because again, this isn't about delay, and we'll crank the mix all the way up to completely wet. So the real magic here is in the style selector. So this is where you choose what type of delay you want to use. They've got all kinds of stuff, but some of these are absolutely perfect for filter vocal effects. Like right here, we have telephone. Let's check that out.
You'll be just fine.
So yeah, that's sounding awesome. And let's see what else we've got. We have AM radio.
You'll be just fine.
Maybe we'll introduce some saturation into that.
You'll be just fine.
And let's try shortwave.
You'll be just fine.
And maybe transmitter.
You'll be just fine.
So a lot of cool options there. You can see there's like, I don't know, 20, 30, something like that options. So there's a lot of different sounds. But let's go back to the telephone, because I thought that one was cool. And we'll leave the saturation cranked up. And let's drop that into the mix and see if that helps.
You'll be just fine.
So that's pretty cool. Now, obviously, you could accomplish the same thing with just a saturation plugin and an EQ. But sometimes it can be fun to just grab EchoBoy and, the fact that you can just flip through all of these different sounds until you find something that's kind of working for you, and then you can tweak it from there. It can just inspire some new sounds that you might not have gotten another way. But while we're talking about kind of lo-fi crunchy effects, let's take a look at EchoBoy on a drum set. All right, so I just loaded up an instance of EchoBoy on our drum bus. Let's take a listen to our drums as is. So sounds really good, but again, let's say we want to go for a cool crunchy effect or something. For the time being, I'm just going to mute my drum reverbs and my crush bus, so we're just listening to the main drum bus. And once again, I'm going to turn the echo time down to 0 and our mix up to 100. And let's see what we can find here. Let's go back to our styles menu, and maybe we'll try saturated. Let's see what that does for us. So that's kind of cool. Again, obviously that wouldn't be right for just like an overall drum sound or whatever, but for a specific part of a song, if you wanted like a filtered effect, that could work really well. Or maybe if you just put this like on your room mics or something, just to get a really crunchy sound that gets blended in with the rest of the drums. But let's tweak this a little bit more. If you go down here to the style editor, now you have a whole lot more options of what you can do. So since we're primarily talking about saturation right now, we'll just focus on this section right here. So right here is all of the different saturation modes within EchoBoy. So I'm just going to hit play and flip between some of these. So in this case, I thought warm sounded really cool. And, oh, I didn't see dirt. Let's hear that. Ooh. Yeah, I really like dirt. That's a cool one. And then you've got a couple extra knobs here to control the amount of saturation. Yeah, that's sounding really cool. So again, I could see that sound working really well for like the intro of a song, or maybe on an individual element of the kit that you could then blend with everything else. And real quick, another cool use for saturation within EchoBoy is on bass guitar. This song isn't a great example of it because I've already reamped my bass guitar, but sometimes if I'm using an amp sim plugin on my bass, you could put EchoBoy before the amp and essentially use it like an overdrive pedal. The couple times I've done that, I think I ended up really liking the analog delay mode. Again, with the actual delay turned all the way off to 0, just using the saturation from that mode. But moving on from saturation and filtering and lo-fi effects, let's see what else we can do with this. So next up, I've got this clean guitar riff. Let's listen to it as is. All right, so that sounds pretty cool. But maybe we want a little extra movement going on. So one of the sounds I love in EchoBoy is some of the chorus settings. So if we go into the preset menu, right here we have chorus and modulation, and you can see there's a whole bunch of options, but my personal favorite is the CE1 chorus. And this is based on the old Boss CE1 chorus pedal, and it just sounds really, really cool. Let's check this preset out exactly as it is, without any tweaks. So that's sounding really cool to me. Kind of sounds like The Cure or something. But it's just adding a little bit of movement and a little bit of interest to the sound. And once again, you can go into the style editor and tweak this a little bit if you want. So here you can adjust the depth and the rate of the modulation, as well as the shape. So if you wanted the effect to be a little bit more extreme, we could do something like this. Or we could change the shape of it, and I don't know, we could get really crazy and stupid. So that's obviously getting pretty weird. Let's just put it back to the default. But that's sounding really great to me. Like I said, it just adds some movement and some interest. I also really like using this chorus setting on pads. If I'm working on a song and it's got a big pad in the chorus or whatever, but the sound itself is super static and it's just kind of hanging out there, by adding EchoBoy with this chorus setting, it just makes it move, which adds a little bit more excitement and interest to the song. And like I said, there are a bunch of other chorus settings, and there's even like a flanger, I think. Yeah, this is kind of cool. So yeah, lots of cool modulation effects in there. And the last thing we're going to look at actually is a delay. I know I said we were looking at things that aren't delays, but this is such a unique delay that I thought it was worth mentioning. And that's this rhythm echo setting. So with the typical delay and EchoBoy in its normal mode, you can pick, quarter note, half note, whatever, and then your amount of feedback for the number of repeats. But sometimes you want to do something super specific with your delay, like either have an exact number of repeats, like for instance, maybe you want exactly 3 repeats, and you want all 3 of them to be roughly the same volume. So to have them be about the same volume, you would need to use a whole bunch of feedback, but then you're going to get a whole lot more than 3 delays. So that can be kind of tricky to deal with without doing a ton of automation or just manually creating your delay by duplicating and moving your vocal around or whatever. Or maybe you want to do something really weird where instead of your repeats dying out over time, you want them to swell up. So each repeat gets louder than the previous one. Well, that's where the rhythm echo comes into play. So here you can set your delay time like normal, but then each one of these green lines represents one individual repeat. So for our first example, where we said we wanted exactly 3 repeats, all at roughly the same volume, if we lower the repeats to 3, now you've got that. So this would be 3 eighth note delays, all at the same volume, and then nothing. Or if we wanted that swelling effect we talked about, we can turn our shape into reverse, and then bring this knob up, and then as you can see on the graphic here, instead of dying out over time like a delay would normally do, it's actually getting louder over time. And there's a few different shapes in here, so you can get some weird stuff that swells in and fades out, or the opposite that fades down and then comes back. Or you can go in and manually set the volume of each individual delay. And also, using this, you can get kind of weird custom delays. So now with this, instead of just being eighth notes or whatever we had it set to, we're going to have 2 delays, then a big gap, and then 2 more delays, and then an extra one hanging out over here. But let me show you how this could be useful. For this song, I had a very particular throw delay thing that I wanted to do. So I basically wanted a half note ping pong delay, but I wanted the second delay, the one on the right side, to have like an eighth note pickup into the delay, which with most delay plugins would be kind of a pain in the butt. But using the rhythm echo in EchoBoy, it wasn't too bad at all. So I'm using a multi-mono plugin, so my left side is just set to a normal half note, but then I'm using the rhythm echo on the right side, since that's the one that I want to have the weird pickup thing going on. And you can see that here. This green line here is the little eighth note pickup leading into that half note delay. And you can see I was able to make that one just a little bit quieter than the main one. So let's take a listen to that.
My life's never really been this clear.
Kind of cool, right? And let's just listen to that in context.
My life's never really been this clear.
So yeah, like I was saying, just a normal half note ping pong wasn't working for me. And I tried a few more kind of normal delay styles, but it just wasn't landing right for me. And that's when I remembered the rhythm echo, where I could fairly easily create this kind of weird echo that I had in my head. But anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you have any other kind of weird non-delay related uses for EchoBoy, I would love to hear about them. So let me know in the comments down below. And if you don't already have EchoBoy and you want to try it out, I'll put a link to Soundtoys website down in the description. So be sure to check it out and try some of these weird uses in your next mix. And even if you don't have EchoBoy and you don't have any interest in getting it, you should explore some of the plugins you already have and see if you can find some really cool sounds out of them that they might not have specifically been built for. Because like I showed in this video, by sort of misusing plugins, you can get some really cool sounds that might be a lot more unique than if you just use plugins how they're supposed to be used. I know you can't see me, but I'm using air quotes over supposed to. But yeah, just don't be afraid to get weird and try new things and really push the tools you have to their limits to find some cool new creative sounds.